Hello everyone. We are going to go over a Regents problem that requires you to complete the square in order to determine the exact values of x for the equation that is given. So don't fret. This is not that difficult. You just have to kind of get into the groove and know the steps of completing the square, obviously. So there's nothing that can help you on the reference sheet. There's nothing going on here. It says use the method of completing the square. So the first thing that I always do is I rewrite what they are giving me. And they're giving me this. To use completing of the square properly, you have to get this c, the constant, over to the right side away from the x squared minus 8x. So the first thing that I'm going to do is subtract 6 on both sides to get that constant over to the right side. So we have x squared minus 8x equals negative 6. So then, now what do we do? Okay, so we know that this is a, the coefficient is 1, and b is negative 8, and this is c. So what you have to do is take b and divide it by 2. Whatever that answer is, you're taking that and squaring it. Okay, so that's like kind of like the steps. Those are the steps. So we have negative 8 as the b, so I'm going to put negative 8 here, divided by 2. Then I'm going to get negative 4. And I'm going to take that negative 4 and, of course, put it in parentheses. Always put it in parentheses and square it. So the square, when you're completing the square, you're adding a perfect square to both sides, the left side and the right side of this equation. So when I rewrite this, I'm going to rewrite it x squared minus 8x. And you see this 16 plus 16. I'm adding 16 to that side. That means I have to add 16 to the right side. You can't just add 16 to one side of the equation and not the other, because you don't want to change the equation. You're just completing the square. And that is making it a little bit easier for you to go ahead and determine the exact values, because now we have perfect squares on that left side, the perfect square on that left side. So this is a trinomial. When I say that, a lot of people get confused. Trinomial is just 3 terms, x squared minus 8x plus 16. The product of the answer to the product of the trinomial is when you multiply 2 binomials, two terms, right? So x squared minus 8x plus 16 is the product of x plus something and x plus something, or x minus something times x minus something. So we're going to figure out what that is. We know that x squared is x times x. But as a little hint, do you see this number here? That's always going to be the second part of your binomial. So just take a look. It's x minus 4 times x minus 4. And the reason why, look, negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Negative 4 plus negative 4 is negative 8. Yes, that works out. If you did distributive property on x minus 4 times x minus 4, or FOIL, whatever your teacher is telling you to do, that would come out to be x squared minus 8x plus 16. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Negative 4 plus negative 4 is negative 8. Then on the right side, negative 6 plus 16 is 10. So to rewrite this, I have x minus 4 twice. So I'm going to rewrite it as x minus squared equals 10. Now you could see that you could solve this. What is the opposite of squared? The opposite of squared is square root. So that's why I'm going to square root this side, because I don't want that squared there. and square root this side. The opposite of squared is square root. That's why you're doing that. This square cancels out with the square root. And look, x minus 4 comes down. And just to check the directions, it says the exact values. So I'm going to keep that square root of 10. You're not going to take the answer to the square root of 10 because the square root of 10 is not a perfect square. So it'll give you a non-terminating, non-repeating answer. If you put the square root of 10 in your calculator, it's going to be a decimal that goes right to the end. And when you take the square root of both sides of an equation, it is now the positive root and the negative root. So that's why you're putting that plus minus there. It's both roots, the positive root and the negative root. So at this point, I am going to split up this equation. So it's x minus 4 equals square root of 10. And that's for the positive square root of 10. And then it's x minus 4 equals negative square root of 10. You see, x minus 4 equals positive square root of 10. X minus 4 equals negative square root of 10. Now I just solve it like a regular equation. And I add 4 to both sides. X equals, I like to put the 4 in front. It doesn't matter which one you do because it's 4 plus square root of 10. That's how I like to write it. But it doesn't matter if you put the square root of 10 plus 4. And then you add 4 to both sides on this side, this equation, and then you have x equals 4 minus square root of 10. And that's the answer. That is it. So this is the exact value. This is the exact value. So both of those are your answers. Now, if it didn't say exact value and it said round to the nearest hundredth or tenth, then you would put 4 plus square root of 10 into your calculator and round that answer, whatever that is on that side. Then you'd put 4 minus the square root of 10 in your calculator on the other side and round it to whatever they wanted you to round it to. Since they want the exact answer, the only way to get the exact answer of a non-perfect square is to leave the square root in your answer. All right, because that is square root of 10. Square root of 10 is a non-terminating, non-repeating decimal. You can't put the right answer down. You have to, at one point, round it to something, the hundredth, or whatever it is. So that is your final answer, and that is completing the square, and that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope that helped. See you next time.